Mark Harmon's departure from NCIS has been one of the most shocking moments in the show's long history, and fans aren't very excited about the show without him. However, there have been some recent developments that point towards Mark Harmon actually returning to the show. Let's take a look at that and some other NCIS news. What hints point towards Harmon's return? In the Peacekeeper episode of NCIS that aired on November 29th, fans noted something strange pretty early on. They pointed out the fact that Mark Harmon's name still appears on the NCIS opening credits. Now, this could just be a case of the show's producers forgetting to change the opening credit scenes, but Harmon is literally the top-billed actor in the whole cast. There's no way they wouldn't have removed his name if he was really off the show. In fact, if we take a look at past examples of actors leaving NCIS, their names are always removed from the opening credits the second they leave the show. And the fact that they didn't do it for Mark Harmon does raise some eyebrows. Showrunners aren't being too secretive about the prospect of Harmon returning either. Steve Binder hinted that the episode where Harmon left might not be the last we ever see of the Gibbs character. He said that Mark Harmon is still the executive producer of the show and will continue to be an integral part of the show. The fact that he called him integral really does suggest that Harmon might just be making his return very soon. Why did Mark Harmon leave? It's not fully clear why Mark Harmon, a man who clearly loved the show with all his heart, would leave NCIS. However, there are a few factors that might have come into play. The first, and probably the biggest, factor is Mark Harmon's age. The actor is 70 and is clearly not getting any younger. After spending 2 decades of his life playing the star of the biggest show on television with seemingly no end in sight, seems like Harmon just didn't want to do it anymore. Makes sense, and clearly Mark Harmon doesn't really need any more money. He's amassed a net worth of over $100 million, and after you reach a level of wealth like that, it's really hard to simply stay motivated. Harmon had the type of contract with NCIS that required him to renew it every single year, and this year he decided to only sign a limited contract that allows him to appear for only a few episodes. However, this also means that Harmon can appear in future episodes for this season at least. Many fans are predicting that he might make an appearance for the season finale. Return confirmed? While Harmon's return to the show this season is still undecided, we do know that there is another character that's set to return to the show very soon. Wilmer Valderrama, who you may know as Nick Torres on the show, made a post on Instagram in which he greeted his fans and told them he might get in trouble for posting this video. He was on the NCIS set, and when he panned the camera over to his side, it revealed someone no one expected to see: Meredith Eaton, the woman who plays Carol Wilson on the show. Eaton has been a regular in NCIS for a while now, as well as a fan favorite. However, her appearances on the show had become quite infrequent, and fans were left wondering whether she would actually appear on the show. However, with Meredith returning and the showrunners being seemingly fine with Wilmer leaking her return on Instagram, it really does seem like CBS is sort of desperate to increase the viewership for NCIS. It seems to be struggling because of the competition network television it's having from streaming services like Netflix. How are the fans handling Harmon's departure? Initially, fans were pretty cordial about Mark Harmon leaving the show. However, with him being gone for a rather long time at this point, fans are starting to really miss him. For a lot of us, Mark Harmon was NCIS. He was the main attraction, and without him, it's not even the same show anymore. CBS recently posted a throwback clip of Mark Harmon on their Instagram page, and it immediately became their post with the most comments that day. To say that fans missed Harmon is an understatement. Almost all the comments were begging CBS to somehow bring him back to the show. Some fans even called for the show to end if they weren't going to bring Mark Harmon back. And unfortunately, there were also some comments that were rather hateful towards Gary Cole, the actor who plays Parker. Parker is seen as the replacement for Gibbs, and while fans were willing to give him a chance, in the beginning, the public opinion quickly turned sour on him. While it's natural to be sad about the departure of your favorite character, it's quite unfair to target the replacement considering he probably had no influence on the storyline itself, and leaving the show is a personal decision for Mark Harmon, not some sort of executive decision. Does NCIS even need Gibbs to return? Despite the loud segment of fans clamoring for Gibbs' return, there are also some fans who feel like Gibbs doesn't need to return when you look at the story. Currently, NCIS is in the middle of a story in which the team investigates the cause of a Navy officer's apparent murder. While the story is quite typical for NCIS, it showed us the leadership capability capabilities that Parker had. Another thing to note is that they're not trying to pretend like Gibbs never existed or anything. Gibbs's departures clearly had a profound effect on some of the characters, such as McGee, and these characters have had a lot of character development because of it. Basically, NCIS is going through a minor restructuring that is working. Everyone's playing their part perfectly, and if Gibbs were to spontaneously return to the show, all of that character development, all that restructuring, it would be all useless. It's going to take some time for us all to get used to the show, but pretending like Gibbs was carrying the show on his back is disrespectful to all the cast members and writers that made the show what it is. Most of those cast members are still there, and so are the writers, and they all know what they're doing. How the character of Gibbs is still influencing the show. While Gibbs may be gone, as we mentioned, the impact his character had on the show overall still remains. On the Peacemaker episode that aired recently, we saw Casey accidentally run into Jessica and Alden inside a gun market. Casey is the forensics department, which shouldn't see much combat at all. She's not exactly the kind of person to own a gun, but she admitted to Jessica that after she was held hostage back in season 17, she tried not to let the incident affect her, but it did. When talking to Alden, she wonders what Gibbs would say about her buying a gun. It was Gibbs that saved her life both of the times that she was held hostage, and this time she wanted to be the one to protect herself, since Gibbs isn't here to keep her safe anymore. She said that Gibbs saving her was strike 1 and 2, and this time she has to do it herself, or it'll be strike 3. By the end of the episode, Casey goes to the shooting range with Jessica. However, she decides against buying a gun. Regardless of her decision, it's clear that Gibbs is still on the minds of so many of the show's characters, and it's really a great way to actually help fans deal with the loss of Gibbs. Is Jimmy Palmer leaving NCIS? NCIS fans have already gone through so much sadness while dealing with the departure of the show's main character, but now there might just be another cast member that leaves the show for good. Jimmy Palmer is the chief medical examiner for NCIS, and he's one of the few comic relief characters on the show that never fails to uplift the mood. He's probably one of the most beloved characters on NCIS, both by fans and by other cast members. However, after the death of his wife in season 18, even he now has a cloud of sadness surrounding him. Recently, there have been rumors that Jeremy's actually leaving the show soon, and that'd be obviously not very good news. However, there doesn't seem to be any truth behind the rumors. Brian Dietzen is still seen at NCIS shoots, and recently he wrote an entire episode for the show for the first time in his life. Clearly, Brian will be heavily involved with NCIS for the time being, and his level of involvement has only increased over time rather than decreased. Still, fans are wondering if Brian's new role as a writer would mean he'd be too busy to be playing a character on the show full time. And to get the answer to that, we'll just have to wait and see. That's a wrap for Mark Harmon returning to NCIS. Do you think we'll ever see Mark on the show again? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.